How have you dealt with that in the years after you got married? You said that was when you started dealing with it again.
Yeah, I definitely closed it off from my brain for a few years. And I mean, you don't start a relationship and being like, hey, by the way,
By the
just
way, I've
wanted
got
to
a lot
let
of
you
trauma to
know
deal
at
with here.
17, I
Yeah.
got kidnapped. So I definitely put it down. And then the first time I remember that he wanted to go to, I think it was like Cancun or something, which I ended up getting married in Mexico. But the first time I was like, how do I tell him this? Because I
Hmm.
was dealing with the anxiety of it.
Sure you were.
In my brain, this man was going to find me in Mexico.
Sure.
His cousins, his sisters, his parents were going to know it was me that put him behind bars and come after me.
Hmm.
That was the narrative that you could not remove from my brain. And whether my ex, my partner at the time, knew it or not, it was what I was going through constantly every time I knew that we were going to go back to Mexico for a vacation, for this, for that. Then we started planning the wedding and we would go to visits there. And at the time, I was doing like therapy on and off. And I would talk to different people, either at church or therapists. And I would be like, I can't remove this man from my mind. And then when I really, really did the work was when I went through the divorce, because then I told the therapist at the trauma center what I had gone through and that I hadn't really like dealt with it or really felt supported by anyone. And I was like, when I told my ex, like, he was as supportive as he could be, but years had passed and he didn't really know. And I think that like men don't always know how to be
They
that
do not.
in those situations. So it's
And
like
we're
I give
putting
him
too
great.
much on them by
Yeah.
asking them to do
Yeah, so
that.
I
Yeah.
it's like he wasn't in the scene. It was so many years later. Like he had grace for me, but didn't know what do you want me to do.
Yeah.
So I never put that on him, but it was more of, well, what do I do? And then the friend that I usually stayed at the house, I was no longer her friend due to like a relationship that had messed up, and then they made us choose like which side we were. It was just thing we were no longer friends. It was like a high school friend. You lose those friends after a while. So I was like, I have no one from that time that I could really be like, hey, I'm still going through this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't tell all my friends at that time. Only very
Mm-hmm.
few knew. So I kind of just dealt with it solo. Like I have this secret I'm walking with.
Sure.
And then I went through my divorce. I went to the trauma center and I talked to them, and they were like, we would like for you to talk about it in the group therapy session that we have today. And I remember we were there and we were all sitting and I started talking about it and I started bawling.
Good.
Like I could not breathe bawling. And I was
Good.
like, where is this coming from? And to be frank, I think I still deal with a little bit of that in why I got emotional today, in the sense of there's a little bit of embarrassment.
What's the embarrassment?
I don't know. But in this episode, the embarrassment of, as much as I want to be honest to people, it's something I protected.
What
For
did you
the
protect? The story or the embarrassment?
their embarrassment, that of the guilt of like, how did that happen to me?
Hmm.
You know?
But that's normal. Do you know that's normal? It's
I guess not.
it's okay. It's very,
Yeah.
very normal once you are victimized like that to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Because if you take responsibility for it in your mind and how our flesh works, is if I can take responsibility for this and say it was my fault, then I can control whether it happens to me again or not.
Yeah, it's definitely the control freak in me.
Taking responsibility is a good thing in a lot of other ways of life.
Yeah.
People who know how to take responsibility are the ones that actually get through and do the healing. The ones who keep blaming everybody else are the ones who never get the healing and never grow from it because it's everyone else's fault. And
Yeah.
you can't change anyone around you. You can only change you.
Right.
So if you think about it, that is like, that could be why you are suffering with this humiliation. Do you still feel that way today?
Yeah.
Okay, speak to that.
I don't know. I think that part of me wants to speak about it so that I can just be like, okay, you're humiliated. Big whoop, you know?
To bring light to it.
Yeah. Because I read this quote and it said, it was something about the fact of when you keep a secret, you keep yourself chained. When
Sure
you
you do.
announce it, you're free.
That's absolutely right.
So,
And this is the saying that I have over that. When you uncover something, God immediately covers it. When you cover it, God will uncover it.
yeah.
So When you uncover something, God immediately puts his hand over it and it's covered and it's taken care of, right? So that's what
Yeah.
you're doing now.
And I think for so many years, I've dealt with this hate for when people tell me, you're perfect. You look perfect. I hate that word
Why is that?
because I'm so far from perfect, but I've had to show to everyone like everything's okay always. So from growing up, I protected everyone.
Sure you did. Because you were
So
trying to balance that.
yeah, so I was in the protection of in school of what I was feeling or going through, like I was protecting. Even in feeling like at times I failed as a big sister, but I protected her as much as I could. But there was things that she saw that she shouldn't have seen.
How do you feel when
Until
somebody doesn't acknowledge that you've done all that work for them? Does it make you feel cheated?
yeah, because it's like there's so much that I've kept inside and that I've tried to give grace, be the bigger person, and just be like, it's going to get better. And in different decades of my life, I've done that. And then it makes me look like I'm so smooth with everything. But in reality, I deal with that turmoil behind closed doors. So I think for me, like even saying the story, it goes into one, people go through things, but you don't have to carry it through and it doesn't need to be your identity. But two, it's okay not to be perfect. And even those people that you think are perfect have gone through some things. And that's why I always say, give people grace because you have no idea. And that's why I think, whether people realize it or not, I have always tried to lead with grace to the people in my life. But at the same time, sometimes I'm like, is giving too much grace a disservice?
Sometimes we misuse the word grace and we use it as enabling. We use it as excuse for behavior. Grace is undeserved favor. Grace
Yeah.
is God's gift to us, even though we don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Grace is a fresh new start every day. But grace is graciousness and graceful means that you are not hammering everybody over the head when they make a mistake against you. It doesn't mean that they don't get to keep making mistakes against you, that they get to have a boundary that you get to hold.
Yeah.
But grace is like, you crossed the boundary. I'm not going to talk about you. I'm not going to annihilate you. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to tear your character apart to everyone and to you. I'm going to forgive you because I want to offer the same grace to you that I've been extended. However, you did cross a boundary and you cannot do that in my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to back up for a little bit until you learn how to treat me.
Right.
Because let me tell you, we teach people how to treat us.
Yes.
And if you don't like how someone's treating you, it's not because they need to change, it's because you need to change what you're allowing. It's because you need to change who you are so that you don't attract it.
Yeah.
So many times we fall into this position of going, oh my gosh, I'm on my fourth relationship and this guy's cheating on me too, or I'm on my fourth relationship and this guy's also an alcoholic, or this guy's also a sex addict. Whatever the story is, it's not about the guys.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not about
attracting
your
the
bad
pattern.
luck. It's your pattern
Yeah.
of who you are because you attract exactly who you are, or you attract your normal. If you don't reestablish a new normal, what ends up happening is you just repeat the normal over and over and over again
Yeah.
until you call a thing a thing.
Right.
So my question for you is, what do you need to do in order to have victory over your story so that one, it doesn't bring you shame anymore, two, it no longer has power over you?
My victory is talking about it in this
Good.
episode and just like uncovering it and, like I said, unmasking it, because now I'm no longer hiding something or feeling like I'm looking at you and you have no idea about something. But for anyone else or even for myself, what would you say is a good sign or a few signs that a person that has gone through trauma can see and begin to feel or do to know that they're no longer carrying the trauma, but now starting to feel victorious from it and healing from it?
So your question is, what tools do people need to use to not be identified by that, right? But and signs to show that. Unfortunately, there are certain models of help, be it therapy, be it programs, be it whatever, podcasts, whatever, that will promote the fact that you have to be sitting in therapy for 10 to 15 years and you do not. There are tools that will rewire your brain. And I'm going to tell you that there is a tool called EMDR. Okay. Have you ever done EMDR?
No.
Okay, EMDR and tapping are two of the most powerful tools, and you have to find somebody that is a specialist in that that will help you because it's actually using sensory technique to rewire your brain.
Is it
Okay,
the thing that I've seen that people go like this?
that's tapping. So, tapping, and I'll give you just a very generic explanation of what tapping does. So, you have meridians, which are kind of sensory points that touch your brain. Okay. So, if you are recalling, and this actually was developed because the World War I and II vets were being so much more traumatized by recalling the memory of what they were dealing with through their therapist that they were even going further in the hole, but they were trying to like deal with it, but they were recalling it. You see, your body doesn't know when that's why you started crying and that's why your hands started sweating because your body does not know when you recall a memory. It does not know. Your body says, oh my God, it's happening to us again. So all of your body, you have a response inside your body that sends your body into like fight or flight or freeze, right? And so your body, that's why you can physically feel your heart beating, you can feel your stomach, you can have a panic attack, you start crying because your body is like, oh my gosh, we're going through this again. And so
Mhm.
it's releasing all of the experiences in the moment just by recalling. So if you understand that, these memories are stored in your subconscious mind. Okay.
Mhm.
In order to restore that subconscious mind, you have to go through your five senses. The main one is seeing and hearing. And well, taste is something, but seeing and hearing is definitely the two main ones. So, in order to know that you're no longer in that, or how do you get out of that, you have to be absolutely intentional about focusing on things in the future. So, how do you focus on things in the future? How do you stop thinking about the past? Because you could just smell a smell and it will take you right back to that car.
Right.
You can smell a smell or hear a song, it'll take you back into the situation of your abuse, whether it be in your home or it be in school or it be in your marriage. I'm just talking to people who are
Right.
listening too,
Of
right?
course.
So you can see a car. For me, it was a car. I could see a car and it would literally make my mouth get cottony. I broke out in sweats because of the car I saw.
Mhm.
Okay. So you think, okay, I can't just keep talking about this over and over and over again.
Right.
Like you're validated. What happened to you is real. It's traumatizing. It's horrible. And you have every right to be scared and every right to be in that position for months and years after that. And everyone listening who has trauma in their past, I just feel like abortion right now. Like, I feel like somebody listening is going to be struggling with abortion. Like, they're going to be freaking out about that. Like, or they did that in the past. I don't know who that is listening, but somebody has shame about that. And so, what I want to say is that we cannot undo the past, but the tools to move forward are to begin without vision, we will perish. Okay. So, in order to change the future, in order to change your present, you got to focus more on the future. Okay. Well, how do you focus on the future? You create a vision for it. The more that you create a vision and you make your future bigger than your past, then all your thoughts, do you know you have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day?
I mean, I know I'm an overthinker, but geez.
No, one average brain in a human has 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day.
I probably have 120,000.
Well, women, you know what? Men have like 6,000. We have like 100,000. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
But so look, 90% of those are about the past. That's your average everyday untrained brain. And when I say untrained brain, I mean a brain that actually doesn't know how to put this into effect.
Yeah.
Okay, to rewire your brain. So 90% of all of those thoughts are about the past. So when I learned that, I thought, okay, wait a minute. So that means 10% are about the future? No wonder we're running, spinning round and round, making the same mistakes.
Mhm.
Looking up one day and going, how am I 50 something years old and I'm still here? So I thought, I need to reverse that. This is one of the tools. We're going to reverse that. And I thought, I want to make 90% of my thoughts about the future and 10% about the past. Now, here's the mistake that we all fall into. We believe that's just a natural thing that happens. That, well, when I get married, when I have the kids, when I have the house with the white picket fence, when I have the perfect boyfriend, when I have the perfect job, when I have the perfect money, then I'll get in that place. But the irony of that is that no, you need the thinking first before all that'll come.
Right.
Okay? So the number one tool is to know that you are actually moving away from the trauma is to calculate what your thoughts are per day. And
It's tiring if it's
no,
90,000.
I'm saying
Oh,
calculate what your thoughts are. So
okay.
actually take, without an intention, you just float around And with 90% of our thoughts, we will magnetize towards the back. Anybody listening, I don't want to be in trauma anymore. Like, I want to be free. I want to live my life to the fullest. I don't want to live in that past, because every time you recall that memory, you empower that perpetrator.
Yeah.
Every time that you start shaking and crying, it's a real response to that horrific thing that happened to you. But every time that you do that, it empowers him. And let me tell you what else it does. It creates a bigger magnet behind you that keeps you attached to the past.
Yeah.
If you are attached to the past, you cannot move to the future. You just cannot. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you start focusing on, so how do I move forward? You got to create a vision for your life. So one of the things I did for me is I had a vision in my head of my husband and I. This is just my own little vision. This is my go-to tool. Whenever my trauma started coming back and my thoughts started drawing me back, and I could feel myself like starting to panic, I would go, get the thought, get the thought. It's just like taking an aspirin because you have a headache. My vision was my husband and I on our horses, on our land, which we don't own yet, with our grandchildren on horses behind us, just through the meadows. That's my vision. My other vision is our family building all our houses on a piece of land and everybody living together. Like, I have actual vision as though I've already lived it. But every time I start going into trauma mode, which is now hardly ever because I've trained my brain, I put that vision in my head. So for you, I want you to think, what does life look like for you if you could design a dream life? Like, you have to write that down.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe in writing things down and speaking because that's how I got to where I am today.
That's right.
And I think that's the reason why I have said that I, from a very young age, wanted to process and go through whatever I faced throughout my years rather than push it aside and ignore it and things of that sort. Because the older I got, the more I realized I don't want to be like these different people that I've been around throughout life that are older and are just letting themselves be locked in. But I think more than ever now, when I do have visions, it's funny when you were saying the horses thing, because I actually have a vision every time that I think about it of my life with my future partner and my kids. And I was telling my friend about it the other day because I was saying it down to the decorations.
There
Like
you
the
go.
fact that even in my master bedroom, there's a specific clothing rack because I'm so busy that I have a clothing rack of the outfits for that week. And she was like, "You're so detailed." And I'm like,
That's
"You're
perfect.
supposed to be detailed."
That's perfect. And
Yeah.
that's how you
And
push yourself into a vision of the
yeah.
future. See, because anything that's good, bad, indifferent, it will be recalled out of your subconscious mind through the five senses. It could be a food that you taste. It could be a song that you hear. It could be a smell that you smell. It could be something you touch. It absolutely works that way. When you have a definition of the future, and y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, it could even be, I'm going on vacation next Friday. So maybe in your mind, you imagine your vacation next Friday as something that holds you to the future. And then you have to be intentional about getting excited about it. Because if you don't elevate your emotions and you stay in this low vibe, you will forever stay. And I'm going to show you that really quick. I just already started drawing this thing because I want to show you this, but let me show you the emotional frequency scale. You have the scale like this, okay? It's an actual frequency scale that's actually measured by being tied up to like little modules, if you will. Like, you know, when they put the brain modules on and the heart modules, they can scale the frequency of your emotions. They can read that because that's the kind of energy you put off, okay? So right here, I'm just going to say this is 250 and this is 1250, okay? This is your scale. Whenever you have 250, that's like nearly death. When they actually measure it, it looks like this. What does this remind you of? And then what does this remind you of?
Well, the heart thing.
Right. This is what it looks like when you're up here, and this is what it looks like when you're at 250. Literally, you're almost at death, okay? But 1250 is abundance, joy, receiving. It's all the good things. 1250 is through gratitude. 1250 is through choosing to think on higher thoughts. But when you exist right here and all these in between, you attract people just like that who also think like that. So everybody's on this low vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we think about that, let me show you this really quick because your goal needs to be to maintain a high vibe. And you do that by your thinking. You do that by what you listen to. You do that. That's why you can be in a movie. Have you ever watched a movie without the sound?
Yes.
It's kind of like, this movie's so awkward.
That's how you watch a scary movie and don't get scared. Turn off the sound.
Turn off the sound. That's right. The,
I've done.
the music projects a frequency that
Yeah.
affects you. So
Mm-hmm.
you can be listening to a really beautiful song and it can make you cry.
Yeah.
You can be listening to a really good jam out song and it makes you want to get up and dance. It affects your vibration.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the same way as the thoughts that we emit and the energy we put off. So if you think about, let me start with you. This is step number 2. Okay. So if you have step number 2, this is you. This is the secret to the best life you can ever imagine. This is you inside that circle. This is all you're responsible for. And everybody watching right now, this is all you're responsible for.
What's inside the circle?
What's inside the circle. Science calls that the toroidal field. And you have 9 feet in diameter around you that is actually your own field. Okay. But what happens is we get around people, okay, who have little tiny circles. Some people have really big circles and they encompass you. Not only do they encompass you, they expect for you to alter their field. You have to act this way so that I can be happy. You have to respond to me so that I can feel validated. You have to think this way so that I can feel like I did a good job with you. I need you to act, say, feel, think, behave, whatever, do, don't, say this, don't say this, all of these things so that I can look good,
Right.
so that I can sound good, so that no one will think that I am XYZ. Okay? That is the dysfunctional cycle as all get out. But what happens is we stay in those circles. And then every ounce of black tar and low vibe thinking that this person projects and the cycles they stay in their whole life, it goes over us too.
Right. And it
And
brings you down.
you can't identify who you are.
Right. You lose yourself.
You lose yourself. This is how you stay in bad relationships because the person dominates you and you lose who you are, right? So when I show you this, I want you to know that this is your circle. These people around you that try to dominate your circles, some just try to isolate, but there are people that try to dominate your circle. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're not always your abusers. These can be your normal, everyday people. These could be your parents, your grandparents, your teachers. This could be your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, and they look functional. They have good jobs. They are fun sometimes. They're high and they're low, but they abuse, but then they put everything off on you. If anybody wants to know what gaslighting is, just go to YouTube and put what is gaslighting. You'd be surprised how many people get gaslit every single hour of every single day.
But do you think that also nowadays people, because gaslighting is so popular of a search, do you think also that people that are gaslighters have a tendency to now want to turn and say that everyone else around them is gaslighters? And if, how are you
That's
able
such a
to
good question.
identify if you are the gaslighter? I think it's so easy when a word like gaslighting is on trend to instantly want to identify it, to find the definition of it and point a finger to it to someone in their life, whether they're the one actually gaslighting themselves or gaslighting the situation. So how can you know when defining what gaslight is if actually you're the one doing the gaslighting? That's a lot of gaslighting in the sentence.
This is a really tricky thing
Yeah.
because people who operate dysfunctionally with their emotions and their mind never take responsibility for anything.
And I say that because it's so easy to point the finger. It's easy to identify when you're knowledgeable in the topic, but everyone nowadays is an expert.
Okay, point your finger at me the way you normally would.
Yes, 3 back. I know, but I
That's
think
the trend.
I think
But
even
here's
though
the
that's
answer to that.
an old
Old
expression,
analogy,
yeah,
yes.
analogy, people forget that. And they're like, "No, but in this situation, I know more. And I know that Susie over here is the gaslighter and not me."
Okay, so that's deflection.
Yeah.
Anybody who's actually the gaslighter is the one blaming everybody else for that all the time because all they're doing is deflecting. The person who is actually functional and healthy is going, am I the gaslighter? I need to check that out. I need to change that. Ooh, I don't want to gaslight anybody. I don't want to be a narcissist. I don't want to hurt somebody. I want to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
Hold on. And then here's my other favorite, the subtweets. We call them subtweets. This is a hot topic for me. It drives me absolutely crazy. The people who like to use social media to beat people up because they don't have the guts to say it to their face. So they use social media and they post things and they're subtweeting, we call that, or passive aggressively talking about somebody. That's the person that's got the dysfunction. This is the core bottom line of that. If you're a healthy person, all you're looking for is your own faults.
And I think to like chime into that, I'm not perfect, right? I know I'm not perfect.
Right. None of us are.
None of us are perfect. And I think anytime when I know I've done wrong, listen, I may not have apologized instantly, I may not even have had a closing argument or conversation with the person, and this is in the 33 years of my life, right? With different people. But there has always been a moment to myself where I have been like, I was wrong. I was wrong, and I did that again, or I talked to them wrongly, or I was feeling bad about how Peter over here treated me and I did it on Patty. And I either go and apologize or I'm like, how can I stop doing that
That
within myself?
is a sign of a healthy person. Because if I can tell everybody one thing, that one of the number one keys to absolute abundant happy life is focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Focus on yourself and stop blaming everyone and victimizing yourself. Because when you victimize yourself, you are always the victim. Victims are helpless. They can do nothing. Victim needs the perpetrator or the violator to stop perpetrating and violating so that they can be free. So there's no power there.
So then I guess my question becomes, for a person like myself who I do try to do the identifying and fixing, but then also borderline end up blaming myself.
It's impossible for blame to be present when you are in a healthy relationship with yourself, because you've already accepted the responsibility for everything that you're in.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that it was your fault that you were kidnapped. Not that it was your fault that you left the house. You were a child and you were leaving an environment that did not feel safe to you.
Yeah.
So there's no blame. Listen, I used to tell my residents, you were victimized. You did not ask for this. You did not want to be serviced and sold for sex that many months and years. You were victimized. You had a false belief that put you into that situation. You didn't put yourself into that situation.
Yeah.
If you had a level, love, balanced belief system about yourself, no one, listen, forget about the idea of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's so far and few between. It is more about who you are is what you attract.
Yeah.
Unless you're walking down the street and somebody drops acid out of 20-foot window above you and it just happens to hit your head. You're not attracting that. That's a freak accident.
I think that, like, even in comparison to my situation, when people are in relationships, you can take the understanding of what's in your circle and what you have control of and what maybe you had to do in that relationship that wasn't right. But that doesn't mean you take ownership of the entire relationship
Oh,
and
no.
blame for the
No.
entire
But
relationship.
see, here's the thing, going back to this circle. If this circle, whatever this circle projects,
Mm-hmm.
pretend at the end of every one of these arrows right here is a magnet, okay? So whatever you project from within your circle, you magnetize to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's physics. There's no way around that, okay? But listen, the other thing I want you to know is that this is the absolute fact of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You have this circle, it goes with you everywhere, you can never get rid of it. But there's inside of this is a door, okay? The door is coming from the inside. No one can open this door except for you.
Yeah.
So if someone insults you or if someone offends you, it's because you gave them permission.
Right.
If someone penetrates this circle from the outside, let's say you're kidnapping, okay?
Mhm.
That's a penetrating. That's a violent entry into your personal space.
Yeah.
You're being held against your will. That's a violent situation, okay? There are a lot of people who have had violent things happen to them. But more times than not, it's not a violent entry. It is, we just open the door and we go, I received that.
If a relationship doesn't work out, put aside the situation that I said, if a relationship doesn't work out and the person goes into a blaming system, aren't they supposed to take accountability for their part in it, but not take the responsibility for somebody else because you can't control another human?
1,000,000%.
At the end of the day, like you said, you only have control, even though you're attracting other things, you only have control for what's inside you. So you can take accountability for what you've done in the sense of relationships when things have gone bad, but you can't take blame for the fact that other people have wanted to do their own things, whether it be cheating, whether it be abuse.
So let me speak to that because I have sat in front of so many people who've
Yeah.
been cheated on and abused.
Mhm.
Okay. And I never want anyone to take the blame for that ever.
Yeah.
However, my number one response is let's change the dynamics in here because the type of person that will cheat on you is not because you weren't pretty enough. It's not because you didn't have enough sex. It's not because you didn't talk enough or you talked too much. It's because the person who's doing the cheating, and let me also add the girls who are the mistresses,
Mm-hmm.
that whole pile is a whole dysfunctional pile.
For sure.
Meaning, if you're cheated on, it's not because you're a bad person. It's because the person you're with is not strong enough to fix themselves so that they don't do that. They're continuing in a broken cycle. It is very highly likely going to repeat itself again and again.
Right.
So if your parents cheated or your grandparents and your brothers and sisters, if you don't go spiritually to try to change that and break that, which is called generational curses,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen again.
Right.
It just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But to answer that question specifically, when you get busy, okay, let's say you were abused or cheated on or whatever, you were with an addict, or I'm just saying you as an example. Then you go, oh my God, here I am again. What in the world? How do I fix this? And this is what I always ask people when they're in this situation. Are you exactly what you want them to be? Are you the person that you need them to be so that you can be happy? In other words, no, you're not. Get busy fixing you. Get busy making yourself live in abundance on the 1250 level that I just showed you. Once you get busy doing that, listen, it's like 1 in a million that you're going to be offended by something.
Right.
It is absolutely a law of spirituality. It's a law of physics. It's a law of the universe. It is a law that if you are vibing on a high vibe,
Mm-hmm.
anything that comes that's low is going to break off and fall away,
Yeah.
and anything that's vibing high is going to come towards you. So the thing is that if we keep focusing on, okay, he cheated on me, or okay, I'm with an addict, or okay, my mom's an abuser, or my dad's an abuser, or my grandfather sexually assaulted me, or my uncle, or whatever the story is, there is a time to heal that.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way is to flush out, here's your brain, okay? Is to flush out, this is the subconscious mind, that's how much it is. That's how much is holding all the memories right there, okay? This is your decision maker, which is 5 to 10% of your entire thinking brain. So the rest of it's all the past, okay? So this past is what creates your decision making today.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to affect your change in your life and stop being in those and start healing and start moving in a different direction, you have to flood out what's in the past. And how do you do that? You replace it with things. So get busy listening to things that motivate you, whether it's business success, whether it's a faith type of music. So for us, it would be worship. Whether it's meditation, I think is huge. I'm a huge believer in meditation. It is reading the right books. It is not watching anything with violence on it on TV or movies, because you're cleaning that out. When I had the safe house, we did not allow any internet, no cell phone. They were completely off the grid. A lot of that was for safety reasons, but we knew we had to reprogram their brains. We had to reset a new normal. So I picked out personally every DVD that was in the house. I put every restriction on all the TVs that they could only watch things that would uplift them, because let me show you this glass of water. Imagine this glass of water is dark like Dr. Pepper. And in order for me to get that back to this color, I have to put water in it, and eventually it's going to overflow and it's going to turn back to clear,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I don't start putting clear in dark, and if I keep pouring Dr. Pepper, it's going to keep coming out Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
But if I want clear, fresh water, I got to start pouring clear, fresh water, and eventually it turns to clear, fresh water. That's my number one tool to get you to unpack and rewire that brain. Because if you don't set an intention to rewire that brain, that memory will forever come back on you, and you can tangibly feel it.
Yeah. Well, I think more than anything, I think the reason why it got me emotional was because I know that while I'm saying it in a room, it's really about to be expanded. And I think for me, that was like lifting the roof per se. Like I've gotten to the highest ceiling of now being like, okay, it's out there. And to me, it is a form of healing. And
Absolutely, it is.
yeah, and while because in the position that I'm in, it could very little bit of the fear of why is she doing this? And that misunderstanding and the possibility of the misunderstanding is a little bit fearful for me, if I'm being 100% frank. But what outweighs more than anything than the fear is knowing that I reached my highest ceiling in it. And that to me is more important.
That's right. And what other people think doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because remember, back to this right here, You are the only one that has to live in this space right here. You're the only one. Again, what other people think, let's just pretend this is somebody in your life. This is somebody in your life. Okay. What they project can come towards you in words and thoughts and feelings, but you decide, do they come in or not? You decide that. So I want to encourage everybody listening to go and get yourself set free so that you can also go out and set other people free. Because this is the thing you're doing right here. And I'm so proud of you for bringing this out. I know how difficult that is. And that's a real heavy, heavy thing to live through. And I am so sorry for that 17-year-old little girl who did not know any different. I hate that for you. I hate that you felt like you had to run away and that you had to get out there to try to find some peace. And that's your natural, it's anybody. It's not specifically to you. It's not unique to you.
Yeah.
So many people do that same exact thing and they find themselves in the wrong place. But once you've lived through it, and you have, and you've actually made lemonade out of lemons, then you can start designing your life for you to break the patterns by breaking what you think. So anything that smells like that, I'm free, I'm protected, I'm on a high thought process, I am protected by the God Almighty, I am aligned with his vision for my life, I'm aligned for freedom, and that's the direction I'm walking.
And I do believe, I think I've had one foot in, one foot out. A lot of these years, I've done therapy, I've done certain things. Like I said, I haven't spoken publicly about it. A handful of friends know. I've never actually gotten emotional in telling my friends. I actually told a friend a week ago and I didn't get emotional, but I have been one foot in and one foot out because of something that you said about the freedom. And I think for me, knowing that I have to speak about it is kind of like stepping the foot in. Like I've been inside and outside of the circle in that situation, you know? So it's like
That's such a good thing you're saying. I'm going to show you that.
I've done teachings, I've done the readings, I've read books of codependency, I've read books about healing, I've, all this stuff, but there was still a foot out. And I think a lot of times we do healing to a certain point and then we either think we're done healing or it starts getting boring, the healing process. Because you're just like, how much more do I have to heal about this? I'm fine.
Well,
And
testimonies can become an addiction.
yeah.
Stories can become an addiction.
Yeah.
And the healing can become an addiction.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother topic there that people get addicted to their stories because of the response they get, because of they're addicted to adrenaline, and adrenaline is as addictive to your body as meth.
Yeah.
So every time adrenaline is released in your body, it gives you a little bit of a high.
Yeah.
And it's released in so many different ways. The greatest thing that you can do for your life, for your future children, for your future husband, for your future community, for the future
self.
Future self.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And your present self is to disengage from your perpetrator, from your violator, is to disengage from him, and I want to give you some practical steps right now that everybody listening can do. And that is sit down with a spiral notebook or your journal or whatever and a pen in a quiet place and just sit and go through your breathing. That's the first thing, like close your eyes and breathe through and just thank you, thank you, thank you, all your gratitudes. Close your eyes and just say, what is left in me that I need to deal with? And have your pen ready. Show me the truth about this. And whatever your prominent memory is, write down the prominent memory. Sit with your pen on the paper and just close your eyes and say, show me the truth about this. What do you say about this? And just sit, and whatever you start hearing in your spirit, write it down.
But if our emotions are connected to our body, then we probably should.
100% are connected to your body. So,
I mean, we talk to our plants, right? To make them grow
100%
nicely.
Why don't we do that to our body?
What would you say is another step?
One of the most therapeutical things you can do is write a letter to the person that hurt you.
I've done that.
But don't send it.
No.
Don't send it.
No. Either write write a letter or speak to somebody sitting in front of you.
Right. Exactly.
Make a list on a paper of the people that you have been hurt by, angered towards, holding anything that you felt you never even got an apology from.
That's right.
And go one by one doing it. That's really
so that's therapeutic. In rewiring your brain, that's a movement towards releasing something. But in order to rewire your brain, that's a spiritual first step that I told you about, writing all that down, because you want to identify what the problem is. Then you want to start speaking life over that. So I would spend 3 to 6 months every single morning, like when you're laying in bed and you know how you're kind of waking up, but your eyes aren't open yet?
right.
You wake up and you say, like your eyes are open, you say, thank you for this day. Force yourself to smile because we are rewiring the brain. Right when you're waking up out of that sleep state into that new state is
Mhm.
the most open the door to your subconscious mind
Yeah.
is in that waking moment. Okay. So even if you got to reach over and put on headphones and do a meditation, grab your phone, put it on your chest, do a meditation while your eyes are still closed of gratitude.
Yeah.
That's another thing to do is because you're opening up your subconscious mind and you're pouring in gratitude. Gratitude's the economy of heaven.
So in my phone, I told you earlier that I have 3 times